Yo, Unc, you watch the Diddy?
Like when we had got hit with Hit 'Em Up, I had to make the call to Biggie, and I said, we not gonna respond. Somebody's gonna get hurt if we respond. Tupac hit us with Hit 'Em Up, and that joint was cold.
How did you get that footage of Diddy?
I figure most journalists would not disclose their sources.
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's going to say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time. My favorite villain? I kind of like Diddy.
There are no misconceptions about it.
Not only did Diddy make Biggie pay for his own funeral, but the fact that Biggie literally was going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone and Diddy made the call to pull Biggie's cover and have...
Which of those four is it when you talk to him about Tupac?
It was really about both of them. Either one. It was
Tupac and Suge, you mean?
Yeah.
What if everything we thought we knew about Tupac, Biggie, and Diddy was only the surface of a story far darker than anyone imagined? Today, we're diving into Sean Combs' The Reckoning, a documentary packed with secret tapes, old alliances turned lethal, million-dollar bounties, and footage of Diddy himself unraveling as his empire collapses. From Kefi D's claims to the hidden power plays inside Bad Boy, this is the most explosive version of the story yet. Trust me, the deeper we go, the wilder it gets. So stay tuned until the end, because you don't want to miss this.
So, I do believe so. I have proved things that I could say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he say it didn't happen, or that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times in acts? Oh, I didn't get shot 5 times in their vision.
Pac fans will try to do something to him. Pac and Biggie fans. He can have issues with both of them because a lot of people think, because of the statement that Keffe D made, that he did something to Pac.
That claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because you listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
But new reports. I think that he set up the atmosphere for both of those kids. He didn't have anything to do. He set up the atmosphere to bring that type of behavior that led to those.
Seen an interview that Puffy did with Fat Joe where he was talking about Biggie in his last moments in L.A. And he told Fat Joe that he didn't want to go to L.A. He actually wanted to go to London. But Biggie, he was the one that wanted to go to L.A. and he was the one that was pushing to go to L.A.
That's not true. That decision put us in the worst situation that we could have ever been in.
50 Cent just dropped this new documentary on Netflix about Sean Diddy Combs. Let me tell you, it's packed with wild receipts, unseen clips, and people who were actually there spilling everything. By episode 2 of Sean Combs' The Reckoning, former Bad Boy artists and staff start breaking down what they say really happened behind the scenes during the Biggie and Tupac era. And according to them, Diddy was way more involved than anyone expected.
Und wollte einer sein, hatte aber keine Ahnung von der Straße, sondern war in der Branche sehr erfahren.
Sie werden als Papier.
The documentary pulls in stories from people like Mark Curry, Roxanne Johnson, and Kirk Burroughs, and they're all painting the same picture. Diddy wasn't just running the label, he was allegedly taking advantage of his own artists and stirring up the East versus West drama that took over hip-hop in the 90s. Burroughs even said he felt like Diddy was jealous of his own talent and claimed Diddy once threatened him with a baseball bat just to force him to sign away his share of the company.
Seen an interview that Puffy did with Fat Joe where he was talking about Biggie in his last moments in L.A. And he told Fat Joe that he didn't want to go to L.A. He actually wanted to go to London. But Biggie, he was the one that wanted to go to L.A. and he was the one that was pushing to go to L.A.
That's not true. That decision put us in the worst situation that we could have ever been in. We lost our number one talent. We're on a West Coast where we're surrounded by enemies who told us not to be here. We really shouldn't have been there, but we were. Now we have to get out of there. At that time, I brought most of the company with me. I had a lot of interns, young people. I had to account for them with their parents. We had to get them home. That weekend, I think we had to get Sean out first. 1, 2, 3 steps in the trunk of a car, moving out the city limits to another airport on that flight out.
The episode also explains how the rivalry between Bad Boy and Suge Knight's Death Row Records wasn't really artist versus artist. These people are saying it was the executives, especially Diddy, who kept throwing gasoline on the fire. And once the label beef mixed with the street politics, everything spiraled. According to the documentary, the label war eventually turned into a full-on gang war. They claimed the Crips were backing Bad Boy and Biggie, while the Bloods supported Suge Knight and Death Row. That's where Diddy allegedly got connected to Keffe D through a guy named Eric Von Zip, a major figure in New York's street scene. In old recordings, investigators say you can hear Keffe D talking about how he and Orlando Anderson pulled off the hit that ended Tupac. He even claimed Diddy promised money to take out both Tupac and Suge Knight, but the payout never happened because Knight survived and the cash supposedly got lost with Von Zip. Burroughs didn't.
Yo, Unc, you watch the Diddy? That's so messed up, bro. I tried to tell him for years, right? They try to make it seem like Tupac just made it up. A lot of people owe Pac an apology. They sure do, on. So whether if he whooped the nigga ass or not, they were gonna try anyways, Neff. I'm talking about prepare. They have out here like he was just on some. Dang.
Burroughs didn't hold back either. He said that looking back now, he genuinely believes Diddy played a big role in Tupac's passing. And after Tupac was gone, he claims everyone at Bad Boy already knew Los Angeles wasn't safe. But Diddy still pushed Biggie to go there anyway. Biggie supposedly didn't even want to make that trip. But they say Diddy told people it was Biggie's idea. And we all know what happened next. Biggie was assassinated in L.A. in 1997. Burroughs goes as far as saying Diddy basically walked Biggie straight into danger.
I seen an interview that Puffy did with Fat Joe where he was talking about Biggie in his last moments in L.A., and he told Fat Joe that he didn't want to go to L.A. He actually wanted to go to London. But Biggie, he was the one that wanted to go to L.A., and he was the one that was pushing to go to L.A.
That's not true. That decision put us in the worst situation that we could have ever been in. We lost our number one talent. We're on a West Coast where we're surrounded by enemies who told us not to be here. We really shouldn't have been there, but we were. Now we have to get out of there. At that time, I brought most of the company with me. I had a lot of interns, young people. I had to account for them with their parents. We had to get them home. That weekend, I think we had to get Sean out first. 1, 2, 3 steps in the trunk of a car, moving out the city limits to another airport on that flight out.
So here's where the story gets even messier. Back in September, some old court files came out claiming that Kefi D said Diddy put a $1 million bounty on Tupac and Suge Knight. Diddy denied everything, of course, but people haven't stopped talking about it. And then Burroughs drops another bomb. He claimed that after Biggie passed away, Diddy threw this huge, flashy funeral, but the charges were apparently billed back to Biggie's estate.
Not only did Diddy make Biggie pay for his own funeral, but the fact that Biggie literally was going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone and Diddy made the call to pull Biggie's cover and have him as the replacement so he can promote his album is literally sick. Diddy is not doing enough time, you guys. I said it once and I'm gonna say it again. Biggie should still be here. Biggie should still be here. The fact that that man did not want to do Tupac or even the West Coast when it was West Coast versus East Coast. The fact that
meaning Biggie supposedly ended up paying for his own funeral. Burroughs said he got fired later on because he refused to change Biggie's contract after his demise just to make it more profitable for Bad Boy. Even Biggie's mom, Valletta, was seen saying she believed the whole tragedy came down to a war between Puffy and Suge Knight. The documentary also digs into one of the most heartbreaking parts of the whole saga, the story of Biggie and Tupac's friendship turning into one of the biggest rivalries in music history. They bring in voices from all sides: Tupac's cousin, William Lassane, former Bad Boy artist Mark Curry, ex-LAPD detective Greg Kading, and even D1 from the Mansfield Crips.
So you feel like Pac fans will try to do something to him?
Pac and Biggie fans. He can have issues with both of them because a lot of people think, because of the statement that Keffe D made, that he did something to Pac. A lot of people know or think that because of Biggie leaving, they finding out that Biggie was leaving Bad Boy, that he may have had something to do with Biggie. People feel that way.
On top of that, Burroughs shows up with literal handwritten journals he kept the entire time he worked with Diddy. He said he wrote everything down: daily notes, budgets, business moves, even things tied to Diddy's personal life. The documentary director said he had boxes and boxes of these journals, and they had to scan everything because it was so much information. Through Burroughs' notes and all these interviews, you start seeing how fast everything evolved inside Bad Boy. In just 4 years, things went from the rise of this exciting new label to total chaos surrounding Biggie and the East versus West drama. Biggie was the star of the label, and he and Tupac originally had a real friendship built on respect.
You would think it was a bit far-fetched conspiracy theories, but now, personally, I feel as if he got Tupac killed. I personally believe he was involved in the Biggie. Would you agree with that?
I think that he set up the atmosphere for both of those kids. He didn't have anything to do. He set up the atmosphere to bring that type of behavior that led to those kids. You know, I say this all the time. I don't really want to believe that he was that diabolical behind Big being.
But according to Burroughs, Diddy couldn't handle how close they were getting or how successful they were becoming without his influence. He felt Diddy was insanely jealous, especially since Tupac and Biggie were blowing up based on raw talent and charisma, not marketing tricks. As their fame exploded, outside voices and label politics twisted things until their friendship turned into public beef. Tupac eventually signed with Death Row, and from there, the East Coast versus West Coast tension became a non-stop storm.
Like when we had got hit with Hit 'Em Up, I had to make the call to Biggie, and I said, we're not gonna respond. Somebody's gonna get hurt if we respond. Tupac hit us with Hit 'Em Up, and that joint was cold. You know what I'm saying? I was listening to that. You know, we were actually like on people's turntable. A DJ would play that. We would just end the party and just
take that off.
No, we would take the turntable. We would take your turntables. You played Hit 'Em Up.
Tupac was assassinated in a drive-by in Vegas in September 1996, right after the Mike Tyson fight. 6 months later, Biggie was assassinated in Los Angeles. And according to the people in this documentary, Sean Combs was tangled in the middle of all of it in ways the public never fully knew.
I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I could say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows. So every time he say it didn't happen, or that's the only thing that makes this become an issue to everybody. I was acting. Who gets shot 5 times in acts? Oh, I didn't get shot 5 times in their vision. I only got shot once because they found the book. The police found it, but now they the cops. Now they doing the.
The East Coast versus West Coast beef is already legendary, but what makes it even crazier is how long it took for anything to happen legally. No one was arrested for Tupac or Biggie's assassinations until 2023. That's when Dwayne Kefi D Davis, a known Crips figure, finally got indicted for Tupac's assassination. He pleaded not guilty, but former LAPD detective Greg Kading said something chilling in the documentary. At this point, only Kefi D and Diddy are the last men standing, and that's where things start getting messy.
Be here. The fact that that man did not want to Tupac, or even the West Coast when it was West Coast versus East Coast. The fact that he didn't even want to step foot in Cali and do the tour, right? Lets me know that Biggie ultimately wasn't here for the drama. He was there.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect. But
investigators had actually given Kefi D a chance to talk back in 2023. They offered him a lighter sentence if he cooperated in a proffer session, basically a taped conversation where anything he admitted wouldn't be used against him in court. In that recording, which the documentary plays, Kefi D claims that about a year before Tupac passed away, Diddy stood in a room full of Crips and allegedly said he'd give anything to see Tupac and Suge Knight gone. Kefi D also says Diddy later put up a $1 million bounty on their heads. Whether that's true or not, those tapes are explosive.
On all four of those occasions, there's San Diego, Anaheim, Irvine, and Vegas. Which ones do you actually talk to Puffy at?
Every one.
Every one of them. Which of those four is it when you talk to him about Tupac?
It was really about both of them. Either one. It was
Tupac and Suge, you mean?
Yeah.
The tapes also include Kefi D talking about a hidden G compartment in a car used by Eric Von Zip, the same Von Zip who was known as a Harlem D-boss, and the same man Burroughs was told was Diddy's uncle. Koenig explains that the car was supposedly driven in from out of town. Then Burroughs' Journals adds another strange detail. Days before Zip was arrested, Diddy suddenly insisted they rent cars so the team could drive from New York to Las Vegas for the fight. Burroughs wrote that the request made no sense because of the distance, but he followed orders and even logged the rental expenses in his journals. The documentary shows those entries. Diddy, for his part, has denied everything over and over again. He's never been charged with any crime related to Tupac's demise. Meanwhile, Kefi D's trial is scheduled for 2026, and he's now saying that he only made those statements because he felt pressured.
Now, it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah, check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect. But I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah. No, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
But
And when it comes to Biggie's assassination, no one has ever been arrested. Burroughs ends this part of the story by saying that life around Diddy wasn't easy. Sometimes people got humiliated, sometimes they were used as examples, and sometimes things turned harsh. He said a lot of good people suffered during those years. This part of the documentary really shows how things fell apart for Burroughs inside Bad Boy. Everything started when Biggie's contract got renegotiated shortly before he passed away. Burroughs claims that after the incident, Diddy wanted the contract changed again, secretly, by swapping out pages of the already signed agreement to make it more favorable to Bad Boy.
I don't really want to believe that he was that diabolical behind Big being, because that Big thing was a whole setup, and we know that. But feelings will never change facts. But facts will change feelings. And knowing that, I know that it's certain things that happened and didn't happen.
Burroughs refused to be a part of it, and 90 days later he was fired. He eventually sued Diddy in 2003, but that case was dismissed. Then he filed another lawsuit in 2025, which is still pending at the time the documentary was being filmed. After getting cut off from Bad Boy, Burroughs says his life basically crashed. He talks about being blacklisted in the industry for more than 2 decades, struggling to find work, and even ending up homeless and staying in shelters.
Ich möchte Mr.
But
Burroughs Rede dazu nachspielen und Ihre Meinung dazu hören, warum das ein wichtiger Teil der Geschichte war.
Er hatte diese Schwäche für starke Männer und wollte einer sein, hatte aber keine Ahnung von der Straße, sondern war in der Branche sehr erfahren. Sie werden als Papiergangster bezeichnet. Während er als Papiergangster auftritt, versucht er sich auch als Straßengangster.
Ja, Fat Bowers hat viel Einsicht. Und diese Dokumentation handelt von Menschen, die die Wahrheit sagen können.
But he also explains how he slowly rebuilt himself. Now he's working on TV and film projects and running his own company called Pop Life Entertainment. According to him, he feels stronger than ever and finally is ready to tell his story the way it happened. He sees this documentary as his moment, his chance to share the truth he's kept for years. He said he's holding on to his faith and staying firm because the fight isn't over, but neither is he. Meanwhile, Diddy's camp has been pushing back hard. His team told USA Today that the Netflix documentary is nothing but a hit piece. His spokesperson said they weren't going to respond to each claim because, according to them, a lot of the people speaking out supposedly have personal grudges, money motives, or shaky credibility. They also said some of these accusations were already handled in court, and the rest were never brought up legally because, in their words, they aren't true. Diddy's team basically brushed off the whole project as one-sided and biased, insisting that if there are real issues, they'll deal with them through the legal system, not through a Netflix documentary. While all this was happening, 50 Cent also started opening up about why he even made this whole Diddy documentary in the first place. The Reckoning just hit Netflix, and 50 says it wasn't because of a personal beef with Diddy, even though their feud has been going on for years. In an interview with GQ, he explained what really pulled him into the project was the culture itself.
Him and 50 went off to the side, but I remember it was just me and Diddy there.
Limpy, I tell you, get your hand out my pocket, man. Get your hand out my pocket. I see what you're doing.
It was Yayo and a bunch of dudes from Queens sitting there, and it was 50, and Puff was like, yo, I'm just going to walk up on him and punch him in his face.
Puff said he's gonna walk up on 50 Cent and punch him in the face.
Yeah, he said, I'm just gonna punch him in the face. And I said, yo, what are you talking about? He said, yo, ain't that your man? Ain't that your man? He said, man, go talk to your man. I said, yo, hold up, B, because he knew me and Yayo was tight. I try to talk some sense in Puff head because, you know, the other people that was around is just crash dummies. Whatever Puff say do, they do. Me, I'm thinking about the repercussions. So I said, no matter how tight me and Yayo is, you punch his man in the face, all of them is getting up.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just me and him. You said, what, you scared? You scared? I said, nah, I ain't scared. I said, I'm just telling you, like, that don't make no sense.
He said that in hip-hop, most people stay silent when someone powerful is involved. And because everyone else kept saying they'd mind their business, it kind of left him as the only one willing to speak up. For him, stepping into this documentary was like drawing a line and saying, this isn't about the whole culture. This is about one man's choices.
Hat mir den Fall vorgetragen. Ihm wurde vorgeworfen, dass das ein Sieg sei. 50 Monate zu bekommen, wenn dein Leben auf dem Spiel steht, ist ein Sieg. Aber die einzige Person zu sein, die wegen der Anstellung und des Transports von männlichen Prostituierten inhaftiert ist, ist etwas anderes. Ja, lebenslänglich auf dem Spiel stehen ist auch eine 50-monatige Haftstrafe.
50 and the director, Alexandria Stapleton, also released a joint statement saying this documentary isn't just some petty back and forth. They described it as a story with real human impact, one that spans decades, not just headlines and social media clips. 50 even said that people think he's been doing outrageous things for years, but in his mind, he's simply been saying the same truths he's been saying for a decade.
Do you think that hip-hop culture was on trial as much as Sean Combs was?
Not all. Look, if I didn't say anything, you would have interpreted it as hip-hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that behavior.
He wanted this project to give a platform to people who felt unheard and to show the more complicated sides of everything happening around Diddy. He also reminded everyone that even though the allegations are shocking, Diddy's story shouldn't be treated as the story of hip-hop as a whole. The culture is bigger than one person's actions.
you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
We consider a pre-existing beef, right? For 20 years, right? It's me being uncomfortable with him suggesting that he takes me shopping, or I looked at it like it was like a tester. Like, maybe you'll come play with me type of thing, right? And it's not personal.
The documentary commences by taking the viewers into September 2024, showing Diddy in a New York hotel room talking to his lawyer. He sounded frustrated and overwhelmed, telling his attorney that he was fighting for his life, fighting to prove he wasn't guilty, and trying to hold on to whatever future he had left. He said he didn't know how many more hits he could take, and he seemed terrified of ending up in front of a jury. His lawyer kept reassuring him, telling him he handled everything with honor and hadn't done anything wrong, but Diddy wasn't convinced. "I don't think it's working," Combs retorts. "We're losing." A few days after that hotel room moment, things took a sharp turn. Diddy ended up getting indicted in the Southern District of New York on charges tied to racketeering, exploitation, and transporting people for the rough trade. He was eventually cleared of the first 2 charges, but he was still found guilty of 2 exploitation-related counts under the Mann Act. And that's exactly where the documentary Sean Combs' The Reckoning starts, with footage of Diddy at one of the most chaotic and vulnerable points of his life.
I think that, one big theme of the series is to go behind the scenes to really understand how brilliant you could say Sean Combs is at marketing, at owning his narrative, controlling the narrative at all times. And so why would that...
The documentary shows him holed up in his hotel room, surrounded by his closest people, trying to manage everything as federal investigations, raids, lawsuits, and nonstop headlines close in on him. These clips were filmed with Diddy's knowledge, and they show him completely raw, stressed, emotional, and scrambling to respond to every update coming his way. Director Alexandria Stapleton explained that the footage came to them legally, and that they even worked to protect the identity of the original filmmaker because of how sensitive the material was. She also said Diddy has always been obsessed with filming himself, so there was a lot of material. They even tried reaching out to Diddy's legal team multiple times for their side of the story, but they never got a response. In the episodes, you see Diddy spending those days meeting with his legal and PR teams, reacting in real time as news broke, including the moment he learned that Dawn Richard, who was part of Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, had filed a lawsuit against him too. Her case includes allegations of SA, and at the time the documentary was made, that lawsuit was still pending. The camera follows him as he tries to keep a sense of normalcy, riding a bike around New York, stopping to talk to fans, even going to Harlem to reconnect with his roots. Afterward, he's shown having long, unfiltered talks with his inner circle about how he sees his relationship with the public and how he planned to handle everything going forward. 50 Cent, who helped produce the documentary, said, "This footage is probably the closest anyone has ever gotten to seeing Diddy in real time as his world was collapsing." From his point of view, Diddy was basically documenting his own path straight to jail. After everything we uncovered, the secret tapes, the $1 million bounty rumors, the hidden journals, and Diddy's own footage from the days before his downfall, one question refuses to go away. How much truth is still buried? Was this all a chain of tragic coincidences, or the result of choices made behind closed doors? And with new cases still moving, what else might come to light? If you want to stay on top of every update, every twist, and every hidden receipt, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell, and join us for the next spill.